Live, this is 24-Hour News 8.
Tonight we start with the debate over same-sex marriage. It went before the Supreme Court today, where justices heard arguments about whether there is a constitutional right to such unions nationwide. We do want to go back live to our crew in Ionia County. 24-Hour News 8's Marley Ginter in Portland. They dealt with this earlier today, Marley. That tornado ripped through that town hard this afternoon, and you've got more coverage from there tonight.
Oh boy, Brian, did it whip through this town, and we're talking a lot of cleanup, a lot of damage out here. And tonight we're getting a clearer look at just how much damage that tornado did today.
24-Hour News 8's Casey Jones is in Ann Arbor right now alongside die-hard fans and joins us now live. Good morning, Casey.
Good morning, Coco. Yeah, there are plenty of die-hard fans. We're at the Diag. This is where they're hosting ESPN's College Game Day this morning.
I figured I hit the pothole once I heard the clunk. There's very few of you left in this country, and hopefully they will all float away very soon.
Outside the courthouse, gay marriage supporters verbally clashed with loud protesters, singing and chanting to try to drown out the demonstrators' voice.
You don't care how many people you kill with HIV.
It was a rowdy scene outside of the columned white marble court building.
This is God's creation of a man right here, not you.
Police estimating the combined crowd for both sides estimated at 1,000 people. They gathered for the court's historic arguments on an issue so personal to so many.
We've been together for 14 years. We were married the first day it was legal in Utah. To be an American today is a very proud moment.
Gay marriage advocates held up signs with slogans such as "Love for All" and "America is ready for the freedom to marry." Signs displayed by gay marriage opponents included one calling gay sex sinful.
I find that sharing the gospel with the homosexuals is so important because they are in a lifestyle that is against the Word of God. And I'm here today because this is a very dramatic decision here for our nation. If we continue along this path as a nation, God will remove His hand of protection from us.
It was a high-profile case that began in November of 1991. A bar fight escalated to a shooting where Soso's Lounge on South Division Avenue once stood. A man by the name of Christopher Rumbly was killed. And for the next 19 years, Diabolos Smith made headlines, charged with second-degree murder and standing trial for the crime in 1993.
And when I went to trial, I was in front of an all-white jury.
Smith appealed his conviction based on the racial makeup of his jury.
And they wasn't from my environment. They didn't understand, because the evidence wasn't enough evidence to convict me.
Smith's appeal made it all the way to the United States Supreme Court. But in 2010, the justices ruled Smith should not get a new trial. Tanya Kraus Phelan didn't represent Smith, but she defended many others just like him.
And from a defendant's perspective, who's a minority, looking at an all-Caucasian jury, to that defendant, it looks like unfairness, and it feels like unfairness.
That look and feel is exactly what Chief Judge Donald Johnston of Kent County believes leads to problems when people of color aren't present on a jury.
Well, I think people go back to their communities and say we had a stacked deck, we didn't have a fair shake. I think it creates disrespect for the system of justice and law and order generally.
Though Johnston believes jurors base their decisions on evidence and not race.
So in other words, I don't think that black or Hispanic or white jurors are going to decide differently on a case because of their racial background.
Research on whether a jury's racial composition makes a difference is hard to come by, but a 2012 Duke University study found all white jury pools in Florida convicted African American defendants 16% more often than white defendants between the years of 2000 and 2010. That percentage was eliminated when at least one member of the jury pool was African American.
What is relevant and important in one community may not be relevant in another community, and those attitudes and perspectives as we were talking before, plays a huge part in the way the jury will listen to the facts of a case and decide the facts of a case.
Kraus-Phelan says diverse juries bring different ideas, viewpoints, and life experiences, and helps jurors separate any bias they may have when reaching a verdict.
It's just a very raw, sensitive subject. But the fact of the matter is, the criminal justice system is filled with raw, sensitive cases. And we need to be upfront and honest about what's happening in these trials.
And do you think your case would have had a different outcome if you had a more diverse jury?
Yes, I believe I would have. I wouldn't be sitting here for no life sentence. I believe that.
It happened in a flash.
It's pretty scary.
An EF1 tornado.
I mean, it happened so fast. I mean, it was just raining hard, and then all of a sudden that wind picked up. I was yelling Annie out.
Today, the National Weather Service spent the afternoon sifting, sorting, and surveying. The evidence, too strong to blame on straight-line winds.
What we'll see is typical. We'll see debris that is lifted, scattered. We saw some automobiles that are moved and damaged.
The tornado was down for only 10 minutes. Too quick to issue a warning on.
Well, we get a low-level scan about every 2 to 3 minutes. With this storm being on the ground only about 10 minutes, it was probably 2 to 3 minutes before it picked up anything that would have carried it high enough for our radar beam to detect. And at the same time, it looks like the width of this tornado was probably about 50 yards or less.
The tornado may have been quick to come, but Portland residents were quick to do the right thing.
They did. The babysitter across the street, the house had the garage taken off. The babysitter was awesome. I mean, she got him down in the basement as quick as possible.
They're also quick to lend a helping hand.
It's awesome. I can't believe all these people out here. Portland is so awesome. I mean, if you would have saw this a couple hours ago, you'd say it was impossible. And we're almost done.
¿Y hoy por qué vino sola? The rich aroma of Mexican food and spices, coupled with the authentic music humming in the background, is just part of the experience at Supermercado Mexico.
It's that whole atmosphere, and I think that's what's important for people coming in here.
It's a grocery store brand with 3 locations in Kent County, serving a fast-growing customer base and filling a void for the Latino community.
There might be a language barrier. So they go to one of our businesses here.
And there's a lot of competition. The West Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce says there are more than 530 verified Latino businesses in Grand Rapids alone, and dozens of them are right along Granville Avenue.
It's a blessing to the community.
Zoraida Sanchez has been doing taxes for 34 years now, and her business, Sanchez Income Tax and Translation Services, has been on Granville Avenue since 1992.
For many years, I was the only tax preparation business in Kent County, Spanish, in Kent County, and now are maybe 20 or 25. You know, there is a growth in Hispanic businesses.
That growth has helped revitalize the Granville Avenue neighborhood, giving it a different look and feel. For decades, the Rumsey building on Granville Avenue was abandoned and covered in graffiti. But now, it's Cafe Aromas, a Hispanic-owned coffee shop that serves gourmet soups and sandwiches.
We saw the diamond in the rough, and we wanted to do something good for our communities.
Ian Valdez and his wife have now owned the shop for 10 years. And like other business owners in the area, they believe the community will continue to flourish.
I think a lot of Hispanics come here with the American dream, and they try to achieve that. So I think you will see a lot of that, and I think you will probably continue to see a lot of that happening.
It would have rusted to the point where, you know, more water would have got in there, it wouldn't have been sound, and the government would have deemed it, you know, a nuisance and taken it down and scrapped it.
That was the fear when the Historical Association of South Haven took the lighthouse from the feds 3 years ago. It was a real fixer-upper. The second floor and seams were rusting through, and the floor of the light room was caving in.
There's a lot of wind and weather, and that could have just been bashed right in with as fragile as it had become.
He could not imagine South Haven without it. Neither could all those photographers.
I grew up here, so it was always in the background, and it's a comfort to see it when you're driving by.
So in January, they started a Save the Light campaign, hoping to raise $300,000 by the end of the year.
And there was enthusiasm beyond my wildest dreams for the entire year.
1,500 people gave. They surpassed their goal by $15,000 with a month to spare. For visitors like Tom Chapman here from Missouri to visit family, this beacon is part of what draws them and why they'll keep coming.
It's the landmark, all the pictures, everything. It's just what you think of when you think of South Haven. That's what we think of.
It's been a long season of apple picking at Steffens Orchards in Grand Rapids. Now the grounds are littered red with apples that didn't quite make the cut for this year's crop. Only a few migrant workers remain for tree trimming season, and the owner, Rob Steffens, says they've been working for him for several years.
I don't know what we would do without him.
But Eloy Galvan says most people just don't see it that way.
The public does not know. They go to the store and buy products, but they don't know how the immigrants suffer.
Teresa Hendricks with Michigan Migrant Legal Aid says the biggest obstacle for domestic workers today is
they're losing their jobs to foreign workers that are being brought over here on H-2A visas.
It's a program that allows growers to bring in non-immigrant workers from foreign countries, and they don't have the same protections as domestic workers.
And they're captive to the employer that brought them over, or the farm labor contractor, which means if they complain, they can be sent back at any time.
But Steffens tells us there are other reasons growers are using the program, saying it normally brings in young, hardworking men who come alone.
We're limited to how many square footage we have in our migrant camps to house people. So if you have families with kids, you know, you might be able to get one worker with a family, where with these gentlemen, you're getting 4.
Steffens doesn't want to see a change on his farm and is hoping his workforce returns next year so he can continue to employ working families.
And I had said that if everybody comes back, why, we won't have to go to that route. But if they don't, we may be forced to in the future.
To avoid a shortage of labor in a crucial industry that's often out of sight and out of mind.
We are always portrayed in a negative light, but they do not understand that if there were no immigrants, there would be no one to pick the products in the camps. The product that is in all of the stores, all of it has been picked by immigrants.
Slowly but surely, art is beginning to cover the streets of Grand Rapids, piquing our curiosity and altering the landscape for the next few weeks. And some artists, like the Tape Art Crew from Rhode Island, are just getting started.
The name of it is a Grand Rapid drawing because we don't decide on subject matter before we arrive at a location. So we have to wait till we get there, look at the wall, and to be honest with you, this wall is much bigger than we expected.
That wall is located at 4 East Fulton, right in downtown Grand Rapids. And after a few more 12 to 16-hour days and nearly 400 rolls of tape, the wall will be covered.
So it will be stable by Wednesday. By then, we'll be done with the boom lift, have all the fish up.
And it will mirror its surroundings on Fulton Street with some personal touches of their own.
There are 4 trees over here. There'll be 4 trees over here. There's a bus station over there. This will be a bus station over here.
It may seem like a daunting task to finish in just a few days, but the group says they're used to the pressure and are excited to be a part of the event.
But we have, I hope, become quite proficient at tackling walls like this in the time period that we have. In a lot of cases, when we visit a city, we are an anomaly. We are the one big art thing that happens. And so to be someplace where there's a lot of art happening and we're just going with the flow, it's a real treat.